This one's a long time in the making, when this was first announced, Marvel vs. Capcom collection, when that was coming out from Capcom last fall, it started the conversation again of, man, are we getting a new Marvel fighting game? And I hit up a bunch of people. I brought up one of them on with me today to talk about it. And it was something that we were just super hyped. The hype is back. As I tell people, I would have a dream about playing a new Marvel fighting game. I would think of the mechanics. I would think about what it would be like to play another versus game, another tag team Marvel fighting game. And a few weeks ago at Summer Games Fest, actually Sony State of Play, because we had to get it out as soon as possible. We had to let the people know it was announced. Marvel Tokon Fighting Souls. And joining me today on the hype train, we have Gerardo Tioseco joining us today to talk all things Marvel. What's up, bro?
What's up, brother? Yeah, man, we this is our college days pretty much, guys.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Marvel vs. Capcom 3 forged and galvanized a lot of friendships between our friend group.
Mm.
So yeah, I'm sure a lot of you folks out there could relate. It's not just a fighting game. It's not just something that, oh yeah, a licensed fighting game by a very talented studio. It's so much more to people like us, been waiting and anticipating, especially after the disappointment of
Mm.
Marvel Infinite not necessarily being what it could have been.
Mm-hmm.
We could talk about a lot of reasons why and how those reasons are not necessarily going to influence the development of the new game. Things like that. But I'm not the host. Mike, what you want to talk about, man?
Oh man. Well, of course we're gonna have a refresher on our college days, bro. Oh, well, I'm gonna go all the way back to when I first was introduced to the whole shebang, dude. Like the whole Marvel vs.
Mhm.
Capcom. I remember back in the day, Universal, because Universal used to host a lot of Marvel stuff. You know, they don't
Right,
anymore.
right. Marvel. There was like a Marvel cafe, like a Marvel restaurant of some kind. I remember.
100%,
Yeah,
bro. That was the
yeah,
first time I
yeah.
saw the game. I remember we were just like,
Oh,
I was like, yo, I want a burger. So we go to this restaurant. And then we go have a sit down, and then I notice there's a cabinet, and there's a whole crowd of people around the cabinet playing a game. And I was like, bro, what is that? And then I saw Mr. Strider Hero do his thing against Cap and Iron Man, all these other characters, and I'm like, and then I see characters swapping in, tagging back and forth, and I'm like, yo, what is going on here? And the hype and the excitement that people had to play this game that just looked fresh, looked dope. I believe at that time it was Marvel vs. Capcom 2. So
already, huh?
I
Yeah,
wasn't
yeah,
even
yeah.
aware of everything else. So I had to go back later and then my laundromat I noticed had the first one. And then that's where I got to play that for the first time. And it was wild, man. Seeing these characters at the time, X-Men in the 90s was popping off. We were all watching that Saturday morning cartoon. Spider-Man was doing his thing. You switch over to the other network, you had a Hulk cartoon, you had an Iron Man cartoon. So as kids, we were looking at the stuff thinking like, man, this is so cool, it's so dope. And eventually found out that all of these characters are actually part of the same universe. The one of those few days we decided, walk into a comic shop, pick up a comic, and we're like, oh, we see how these characters interact, doing a lot of cool stuff. And then to see that game, Marvel's Capcom brought that hype and that energy off of the page into your hands or onto the sticks as we were playing it back there in the cabinet. Because for a long time, we couldn't play arcade perfect ports.
Oh yeah, that too. I mean, I had a Dreamcast, so
Mm-hmm.
instantly, like, I had the version, the sought
Mm-hmm.
out version. I have a pretty deep root. I used to bowl with like my grade school friends, and in the bowling alley, they got arcades, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there was a Marvel versus Street Fighter in there. And you know who I had sport, right? Blackheart is this crazy hairy dude with like red eyes, that's my favorite to this day. So what I'm saying? Like after that, I couldn't put the game down. And as soon as I got
Mm.
to like the last two bosses, it was like Apocalypse, he was kind of lame, just like a normal screen sized dude. I beat him pretty instantly. And all of a sudden, the huge dude comes up from like the background. I could only like hit his fist in his head and stuff, and I was blown away. And then somehow, like after like $5, I like beat him, and then all of a sudden Cyber Akuma comes out. And
Oh,
so yeah, I I've been playing these games for a minute. They've been like something that was just too cool to feel like we deserved in the real world. Like it was just like a dream.
mm-hmm.
And I think for a lot of people, the apex of it all was Marvel 2 for a really, really long time. Um, Literally, that was the only cabinet that I would look for every time I go to Vegas, every time I go to like some kind of arcade. Like this arcade incomplete without Marvel 2, you know? So I'd literally just scour the corners, seeing if it's there, and then pay my homage, you know?
Mm-hmm. That's facts, bro. I always thought
Yeah.
like an arcade wasn't legit unless you had one of the
Mm-hmm.
games.
Just one of them, yeah.
I also enjoyed a lot Marvel superheroes just to see
Yeah.
like, that's what I saw Psylocke and I'm like, yo man, fell in love, bro. No, I'm kidding. No, but yeah, I would play her, I would play Wolverine.
Uh,
Those are like my go-to for a lot of games. I would start with those characters, but then I would gravitate to characters that I thought were really cool and I really want to learn more about, dive into. And yeah, there's such a legacy there with those games that I think was really dope and really exciting. And we always craved for another one to come out. I think it was so dope to see like when they first released like the HD versions of like Marvel 2 and stuff. So we
mhm.
got to play that. Well, we first played on PS2 back in the day,
Yeah.
because that's what the homies had when we were at, Nick's pad, Nick Paris, and playing at their pad with Anna and Travis where they were at. We will always be playing Marvel 2. And then eventually, when 3 dropped, day one,
Yeah, dude.
we were all
Yeah.
over that. There was such a break, when they re-released for PS3 the Marvel's Capcom 2 HD
That
version.
was like their feeler. What's the appetite for this new game?
Yeah,
Oh
exactly.
man.
Then that became the thing, right? Where they would like re-release the game and like, oh, so there must be a new one along the way. So when they did that, we figured a new Marvel was coming. We were hoping, right? Like at the time, we didn't know what was up. We were like, oh, Marvel's 2 is back. Okay, let's play this, see what's up. It's not quite it, but it'll do for now. And then 3 dropped, and we were all over that. And then Ultimate kind of got rushed out because unfortunately Marvel got acquired by Disney. So all games in development, all cartoons, all movies, everything is like put a stop to it. Everything's got to now run under the Disney banner. So unfortunately, Marvel 3 was cut a bit too short. They had so many characters that they said were in development. Like they were trying to constantly figure out how to make Silver Surfer work because of his giant surfboard. So that was an issue. But I'm kind of thought about it. I'm like, you guys kind of should have just went with Hobgoblin instead. I know there was a whole Galactus Herald vibe, and they even put on in the mode Heroes and Heralds where you get to see like everyone with the cool silver surfer shader on.
Yeah, right, right. That's funny.
Yeah, but it's
They
like,
really were planning it. Yeah, it looks like it. I think I don't mean to go too deep into the archives, but I think there was
mhm.
actually like a model in the game somewhere where they didn't use. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
wild.
yeah. I don't know if anyone data mined it, but for sure
Yeah.
that was the word going around, and that for season 2, just because
Mhm.
he was so at the time very expensive and took up a lot of space on the disc, but they were going to give us Venom. But it's just that at the time they didn't know how to make him without him being like a super heavy asset because Venom is always transforming and he's doing a lot of crazy stuff. So I think he would have been like a fraction of the game size would have just been Venom. So there was a lot of characters, even Human Torch. I heard that they were trying to bring into the game. Since then, guys like Maximilian with their campaign of, well, working with the team. As G knows, the modding community can get pretty crazy. If there's a game that is no longer being supported, as you know, with Project M,
Right, right. The Smash scene for
yeah,
sure.
that people like to keep a game going. So
Mhm.
up to this day, I think they're still making like new crazy wild characters of like, oh, what if this character was finally in Marvel? Man, but we're gonna have to kind of go through the timeline, bro. Marvel 3, it came and went, but we were still playing it for a long time. It was a huge thing at Evo for sure.
That was a wave I caught. Because for a long time, I never really seriously played Marvel 2,
Mhm,
like there are different levels to this, obviously, right? I was a tryhard casual for sure in Marvel 2. But man, Marvel 3, me and the homie Steven, we were like, yo, this is our chance. We're here in the beginning, we could build the meta, we could ride the meta.
mm,
So yeah, that drive to play that game is still burning right now. I'm literally about to meet up a homie and play offline Marvel 3. That game, and I think it might have surpassed Smash Brothers for me. Like Smash Melee is like my favorite
mhm.
game by now. I mean, how
Wow.
old is that game? Like 12 years? So no more. More like almost 15. Like it's crazy. It's
Hmm.
crazy. I'm still playing it.
Yeah, a lot of those games, dude, a lot of still have a very strong scene and people are still playing and repping. And I can't say the same about a lot of games today. I think, but the times are different. When we grew up, you were dedicated to a game. Like you were a Street Fighter player, you were a Tekken player, you were at SNK. But then we had events where a crossover would come out and would kind of unite people a little bit, like
Mm-hmm.
Capcom and SNK peeps would, interact with each other with the Capcom versus SNK games and stuff. One, two, maybe we might get a three now with the latest
Sounds
developments.
very likely. Based on the latest developments, if I
Mm-hmm.
were Capcom, that would definitely be the avenue I would explore. And I think a lot of people want it.
Mm-hmm.
The new fighting collection, right? It could also be that taste tester approach that they did a while back, by re-releasing Marvel 2, seeing how successful the re-release is.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's selling pretty good, Mike. I don't have the data on that, but yeah, I mean, we got crossover characters in each other's games, guest characters in each other's games. Terry, Mai are in Street Fighter 6. So
Mm-hmm.
all the tea leaves are pointing in that direction.
No, it's exciting times, dude. There was a lot of hype building on the Marvel side in the it's like mid 2000s, with all the movies leading up to like the huge Infinity War, then Endgame. So it made sense that Marvel decided, you know what? Now's the time to bring Marvel's Capcom back and put on a new version, a new entry to the series. But unfortunately, it was not it.
Mhm.
It seemed like there was a lot of politics in play because there were
There were.
at the time, 20th Century Fox was putting out movies with X-Men and
Mhm.
Fantastic Four, and none of those characters were in Marvel's Capcom Infinite. And I feel like it's a blessing that it wasn't labeled for, you know? I
Yeah.
think,
I
I
think they
think,
knew, they borderline knew,
yeah,
right?
because it was one of those games where more so than ever, it felt like even though a lot of work goes into the game development, they do make models from scratch, they do re-input the move set and the game plan and everything, and the game design. But for that game, it really felt like copy paste from Marvel 3. It's like who are the safe characters we can just bring over, and even new characters. I mean, Jeddah was dope. Ultron was cool, but there were some takes on new characters that just didn't hit, like Black Widow, Black Panther. That
Venom was cool. I think they did Venom pretty well.
Venom was incredible.
Yeah.
At launch, I was running Gamora Chun-Li, and then once the DLC dropped, I was running Gamora Venom. It was pretty dope because the moment I saw another Gamora Venom and we did like a mirror match, I was like, this guy knows what's up.
It's on. You take your mirror matches seriously. That's
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah, those are great.
May talk about the art style of this game and
Oh.
why Maximilian had to go back and go like, this is what could have been. Because
Hmm.
the timing was everything with this game. And the focus for Marvel at this time was to push their movies, their cinematic universe. So that in a way affected how they presented this game.
Hmm.
And this game just aged like yogurt, man. Like it was just you when you have like a timeless presentation, like, I'm gonna die on that hill and say that like Marvel versus Capcom 3 had like timeless presentation, and I don't think it will necessarily look aged in a while because they just tweaked the style so well,
Hmm.
right? If once you have something that's presented like that, and then you go into something that you try to use. realistic PBR shaders and try to make Iron Man somewhat look Robert Downey Jr.-ish and kind of go all that route while trying to push some kind of storyline with Mega Man and Sigma and all that. It was just a cluster F, man. It did not feel right. It did not look right. I don't know. And it was clear that politics were involved in pushing that agenda. So
Yeah,
that, yeah.
the whole approach just wasn't it. I mean, because just prior to that, you had Injustice 2, and
Mm,
NRS at that point was on their story grind. They fell
yes.
off recently with MK1. It was like the biggest drop I ever saw from amazing first act, second act, and then to completely drop the ball the third act to where there's a reason why that game unfortunately ended early. Um,
Mm,
After less than 2 years of being out. It's going to be wrapping up by the fall. Um, but at the time, the way they were promoting Injustice 2 was like they were dropping like little movie trailers, right? The cinematography, the presentation, the graphics, because they were like doing scans of real people and putting them into the game for the first time. Kind of almost going back to like what they did with the original Mortal Kombat. They were now doing that with capture. They stopped just trying to stylize model characters and like, no, we're just going to scan real people and just drop them in the game. And we're just going to get people who we feel like fits the character. Um, so the presentation for Injustice 2 was fire. And it's almost like Capcom was like, oh, fighting games need a story now. And it's like,
mm.
yeah, but if you're going to put a story, you got to have a good story. And that's where they kind of fumbled with Street Fighter 5 and Marvel Infinite, where they were focusing on trying to give you a story that wasn't really didn't fully make sense. It was a little bit goofy. Both games had a story that felt like you were watching a. They kept saying it was like a Saturday morning cartoon, but I'm like, yo, don't hate on my cartoons like that, bro. Like we had better stories back in the day. Don't make me bring up gargoyles. You know, they knew how to tell stories back then, and that wasn't it. Um, so to focus so much on that, okay, so now we're going to go into the transition, why things shifted and changed, and what led us to this recent announcement.
Right, right.
Back in the day, Game Awards towards the end of like 2016, when they released the initial trailer to announce Marvel Infinite. And we saw it was like a pre-rendered. By that we mean it's cinematic. It's not in-game at all. It's just these high quality models to kind of show these characters fighting each other. I'm like, all right, cool. We see Captain Marvel. We see Mega Man X. We see a lot of different characters. Like, oh, that's cool. It was hype. And then at the very end, they showed you a little quick glimpse of the gameplay. And we're like, ooh, that looks a little. It's early. It's early. It's just an announcement
Yeah,
trailer. It's not
yeah.
coming out anytime soon. It's fine. And then the next year, that summer, 2017, we still had E3. That was still around, you know? And then they had announced, hey, we have a demo. You guys get to try it out at home and play the game. Because we saw I think they dropped like a gameplay trailer. I'm like, all right, cool. That's looking interesting. It still looks a little rough, but it's fine. It's fine. And then we played the story demo. We're like, yo, and it was just a chapter of the tutorial of the story mode. So you can only just try out the buttons. You can't really like play a match. And we're like, oh, this doesn't really whet the appetite. Now you got me doubting you, Capcom, because now I'm playing the game and I'm like, it's not. And then at the time, the term shill was starting to be thrown around because all the pros who were playing the game behind the scenes, they couldn't record any footage, but they were just like, take our word for it, it plays amazing. And we're like, I don't know, because that demo, we can't tell if it's a good game or not. There's not enough in there to try out the game, to test it out. And then a bombshell landed. The ground was shaky, people's concerns were starting to rise, and then ArcSys comes out of nowhere and says, guess what, guys? We're dropping a brand new fighting game.
Yeah, the timing just woof.
Dragon Ball FigherZ, bro. They dropped that trailer. We saw that moment. They recreated that scene where Goku turned Super Saiyan for the first time.
Yeah.
And then from then on, it was just like more hype moments, more hype moments. We see Super Saiyan 2 Teen Gohan fighting against Cell. And then you see a brief moment of them recreating that clash from the anime. So we see like, oh, they're recreating moments. Now that's a story we kind of want to play through, you know? And, me and my sparring partner back in the day, we would always say like we kind of want a 2D Dragon Ball fighting game because we like Budokai from back in the day, which was more Tekken-like. And then they started to go in the Tenkaichi series route, which was
Mhm.
more arena fighter. And we're like, this isn't what we want. We kind of want a Street Fighter style, if better yet, a Marvel style Dragon Ball fighting game. And we always chat about it and say that would be cool if they ever made that. And then when when we were down in Capcom, Arxis comes out with this, and we were like, yo, this is crazy. It was so hype. People were talking about it so much that people were like, who's Arxis? Like, who are these guys? What have they made? And then the latest entry in their series, Guilty Gear Xrd Rev 2 sales just skyrocketed through the roof because everyone was buying the game in anticipation of Dragon Ball Fighters. And yeah, man, and things were looking grim for Capcom. Later that year, the game dropped to like meh sales. After the first season of DLC, Capcom pulled the plug and said, "Yeah, this nowhere near met our expectations of what we thought this game was going to do." And then people were like, "Oh, maybe the genre, maybe people aren't feeling like the tag team genre because other tag team fighting games try to come out, but it was kind of a hard sell for people to play a team of multiple characters and to be at a good level with like two or three characters on your team. Some people felt like that was a lot, and then with assists and tag mechanics, there's like a lot going on. Um, but then things switched up and changed when Fighters came out because that game sold well. You
Right,
know,
but
I think within its first year, it hit at the time the lifetime sales of where Street Fighter V was at. So it was just
that's
like
crazy.
like that
Yeah.
game was like running circles around Capcom. And then people were complaining about the roster, which we'll talk about later. Roster size. That game came out with 24 characters, but then at the end, guess how many characters that game had, G?
I actually don't know.
They landed at 45.
Okay, that's decent.
So
I
they
think.
almost they
Yeah.
almost doubled the roster, and it was almost as big of a roster as the other game, which for a long time everyone held as a gold standard of like if you're going to have a tag team fighting game, you
Mm,
should aspire to have a roster the size of like Marvel 2, you
right.
know, which was also in the high 40s. So it almost got to that number. I think it was like 48. I'll put the correct number if I got it wrong. But yeah, it was almost as high as Marvel 2 at the end of the day. So that's a ton of characters um, for a fighting game like that. And um, as we'll get into, we have our views and issues about the gameplay, highlights and things that we have concerns about, along with other Arxis games as this one's about to come out.
Yeah.
And people were thinking like, oh, they just came out of the blue. But no, people who know, like
We played a lot of Accent Core back
we
in the day.
a lot of Dos Equis, Accent Core,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
back in the day. And there were some legal issues, which is why Guilty Gear kind of wasn't back for a while. But then that trailer, man, I got the year too, 2013, bro. They
Mm.
dropped that debut trailer saying Guilty Gear's back. And it fooled a lot of us. Now we look back at it and we could tell.
We could tell it's 3D, yeah.
At the time, we looked at it and like something's off. And at first we thought maybe the background's 3D. We know the background for sure is 3D because we see the parallax. But the characters are like, something is off. Like they look 2D, but the way they move,
It's the way they move. Yeah.
it's like I don't quite know. And then they do that scene that broke the internet where
Mm.
Soul and Kai clash swords and they do
And
like
then
a 360 spin.
yeah.
And that's where people were like, oh, snap. And then they started fighting each other, and people's minds were blown because it looked like a direct translation of
The
2D
sprites.
animation
Yeah.
of the 2D sprites to like 3D models. And that blew people's minds because, like we were talking off air just before, like they were trying to do cel shaded before Guilty Gear. But back in the day, everything was painted on the characters, like all the details, even the shadows and the highlights were painted onto the characters. But then Xrd was blowing people's minds because they weren't painted shadows, and the highlights did move and flow across the characters correctly in a way that looked stylized and interesting. And then later on, we find out that yeah, they kind of went in and by hands manipulated and tweaked things. But it
Right.
was
Right.
also crazy when we saw them like swing the sword and they would actually smear the whole sword.
Yeah.
And then they would add all these effects that were 2D, but they were throwing on like transparent planes and a little technical, but they did things to recreate the look of and preserve what they could in 2D, but also translate that to 3D. And that was blowing people's minds because we're like, wow, a game that for the first time is starting to feel like an actual anime brought to life, you know? So for the hardcore community, it made headlines, it made waves, but it wasn't until like they got the chance to wow everybody by presenting and putting out a game for the first time, got people from other games. Because back then, people were specialized. You had Melee players like Leffen, you had Street Fighter players like Goichi, you had Mortal Kombat players like Sonic Fox. You had everyone in the community saying, we all want to play this one fighting game. And that was huge shockwaves. That's why it did so well because everyone was playing that game. And then it kind of became a thing afterwards where now everyone kind of plays everything. Like it's hard to find, at least fresh into the scene, a fighting game player who says, oh, I only specialize in Marvel or Street Fighter or Tekken. Now everyone kind of dabbles. Everyone's excited for the new release and for the new fighting game. So we're in like in a new renaissance period that we haven't had since like late 90s, early 2000s
Yeah, possibly.
where
Yeah.
there was a brief moment where there were a little too many fighting games, and then they had to scale down and took forever for Street Fighter to come back. And then that started a new wave of fighting games really kind of coming back when Street Fighter 4 was released.
There's a big dead period somewhere. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. Between middle school and high school, we were all just playing the same three games over and over again for years.
For
Yeah, I do
sure.
remember that.
Yeah, so since then it's been like ArcSys has been on like on a meteoric rise. Then it became the go-to, like if you're an anime and you want your franchise to be now translated to a fighting game, you come to these guys. And since
For
then,
sure.
we've had like DNF Duel and now just released Net Impact, which people have thoughts about.
Mm.
Unfortunately, I never really got into Hunter x Hunter, and after what I've heard, I might just kind of like I might
My
pass on
my
it.
wife loves Hunter x Hunter. That's like her favorite anime.
Yeah.
I might just get it just because of that. I did play it actually in some Japanese food festival place. They actually had a
Mm.
setup with like an early build of Hunter x Hunter.
Hmm.
It felt very familiar, very tag team anime fighter, kooky, crazy. I'm willing to give it a shot.
Yeah.
I don't know how deep of a dive I'll be. I'm very selective with what games I put time into nowadays, but
Mhm.
yeah, just for a novelty of it, I'll check it out.
For sure. Yeah, it might
Yeah.
still be on my list because I kind of did make it a rule. Like if there's a new fighting game, I like to at least
Cool.
try it out. That's be like my thing for a long time. Yeah, the reason I brought up those two first is because ArcSys also works as like a publisher. So they don't always do things in-house. Those are tend to be like the big titles like another Guilty Gear like Strive or the game we're about to talk about. That might be Team Blue or Team
I
I don't
didn't know
think
that.
I didn't think they specifically named which team is on it. I think a lot of people are assuming it's the Dragon Ball FigherZ team. I think that's why
It looks and feels like it. Yeah.
going into it, a lot of people were assuming um that might be the next game that's going to be announced at Summer Games Fest. So everyone was floored when it was announced that no, it's not that game. It's actually a brand new title for ArcSys. And yeah, dude. So yeah, so to get into it, just to kind of wrap it up, yeah, the team working on DNF and Net Impact is actually aiding. And the reason why it's so familiar is because Capcom had contracted these guys out to make a little game called Marvel's Capcom 3 for them.
Right, right.
So that's why DNF, like when we played it, I told you it was like basically a 1v1 Marvel game because like you could do
Right.
crazy
I feel it.
damage, crazy
I feel it.
combos, and then Impact, even like the start screen where the three characters drop on the stage, the camera comes around, the other three come on, camera around, and then zooms out, the other two on each side jump off, and the main point characters fight each other.
Right.
Yeah, all of that, they just almost like just copy pasted that from Marvel's Capcom 3. So that's why a lot of people were excited for the game. But I heard there's like a lot of auto combos, a lot of like
Mhm.
simple inputs, which it's been a huge debate in the community, which we could get into. But yeah, when autocoms were becoming a thing, the first time I noticed it was again in an Arxis game. It was Persona 4
Right.
Arena. The first time I saw autocoms being used, they were there, they were helpful, but you still had normals, you still had other ways of doing combos, and Dragon Ball Fighters continued that legacy of like you could do auto combos, but that was the first time where we saw, auto combos are pretty strong in this game, you
Mhm.
know? You could do like light auto combo was the strongest for every character. That was like your fastest poke and way to get in and start a combo. And then from there, people would branch off, but you would just see a lot of people just mashing light auto combo to get their string started. And that's where people started to look at the scene and start to think, ooh, we're starting to head in a new direction that we don't know how we feel about that. And at first, me and my sparring partner Raph were kind of open to it. We're like, well, some people just want to get in, mash some buttons, and just hit the ground running. So that's fine. And then you could still do links and other stuff. Like the Magic series is still there, which for those who don't know, it's pressing light, medium, and heavy is a guaranteed combo string. So that was
Mm.
a way for you to start doing combos, and then from there, there's deviations and stuff. But yeah, dude, the first time I started to see where I wasn't a big fan of it was when BB Tag dropped, BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle. And when I played that game, you go into the tutorials because with Dragon Ball, it's like, oh, here's certain things you can do that are outside of the auto combo system. Here's other ways of extending your combos, and here's other buttons you can press after the other, and things like vanish cancels and all this more complicated stuff that they would sneak in into different characters' combo trials. So like, okay, I'm slowly learning more of the mechanics and more advanced techniques, and then I could go in training mode and lab and try. Now I could go back with other characters and try other techniques and stuff. So that was cool. But with BB Tat, the entire tutorial was just press this auto combo and that auto combo. Like it was just keep mashing these different buttons at different timings to get different combo strings. And I'm like, that's not really how I was brought up and how combos should work. And that's kind of not interesting, a little bit boring, to just keep mashing on the same button or just keep mashing.
Mm.
And you're not really developing your skill or playing with stuff. You're just, yeah, these are just my auto combos. So I heard Nen Impact got crazy with that to where
I didn't know that.
yeah, just pure auto combo-y. Because before auto combos were like, here's entry level. Like other games started to put auto combos into the games, like Marvel Infinite and King of Fighters. But when you do auto combos, it's a really simple, really short, and sometimes certain developers will reduce the damage to where if you did it manually, it will do more damage than if you did it through the auto combo route, which is like, okay, cool. So it's a way to get in, but it's not a way to win. But I heard
Mm.
with Net Impact, I was just watching a video recently where the guy was like, you could do 70% damage combos and you're just hitting auto combo the whole time. I'm like, okay, that's not good. That's a bit problematic because we're used to being in the lab and sweating to get 60 or TODs, touch of death combos. Like usually that takes a ton of work. And now it's like they kind of simplified it too much. So trying to really, and that's kind of been an argument in the FGC. And one of the concerns people have going into this game is like people want to play, like we just mentioned, we want to play games for years. We want to keep learning new tech, improving on our skills. That's what gives the game legs, not just dumping more DLC into the game, to get you to play. Well, now try this character and that character. We're used to being like Marvel 2, like we have a dozen viable characters, and
Mm.
that's good enough to still play this game for like over a decade.
Mm.
But yeah, to get into the new announcement,
Right, right.
which happened very recently, we finally have time to talk about it, and it's Marvel's Tokon Fighting Souls.
I think they did it again. With Dragon Ball FigherZ, they provided something that the people didn't even know they needed,
Mm-hmm.
right? And this time around, they somewhat did it again. Everyone was kind of anticipating, hey, there's something in the works. Maybe Marvel 4 is around the corner. And this just shut down all of the speculation immediately. And when it happened, my I was like in a crossroads. It was like a bittersweet moment because obviously I feel like the game is in very, very capable hands, especially when it comes to what was lacking in the previous game presentation, the art style, and a Marvel pretty much. I couldn't have asked for a better team to make these characters and carefully craft and make a beautiful looking game. So 5 stars on that department. The
Hmm.
only things that why I say bittersweet is there are gonna be no Capcom characters in this game, right? After like damn near 3 decades of that, it's gonna be adjustment. Also, what we mentioned earlier about previous Arc System games. Now, you mentioned, I did not even know this. There are 2 different teams on that front or something like that.
Hmm.
And basically, what they have been doing in their recent games, like Dragonball FigherZ, um, Guilty Gear Strive, hasn't been my cup of tea for the most part.
Hmm.
It felt like the combo routes are very, very rigid feeling to me personally,
Mm.
right? And it didn't feel like there was too much space for exploration on that front. Now, I didn't get too much of a deep dive, but everything felt so committal as well, to the point where, like, yeah, that overall feeling has been consistent in recent Arc System games,
Hmm.
and um, I hope that that feeling won't necessarily be as prevalent in the new Marvel game. Um, but yeah, maybe you could talk a little bit more about that feeling, your opinions on that. Maybe you could quantify a little bit more about what that is, because I've only put like 5 hours tops on these Arc System games. So my opinion on it is a very shallow one.
No, it makes sense. Like, there has been a trend as we've been working towards better netcode to
Oh,
have
schlap, right.
characters feel a little bit chunkier for some
Uh-huh.
reason. I know
Right.
people are making that commentary about going from Street Fighter 5 to Street Fighter 6, where like, oh, Ryu feels heavy.
Mm.
Um, and when I played it, I'm like, no, you don't know heavy, man. Play an NRS fighting game. Like, like going from MKX to MK11 to MK1, like the characters keep getting slower. Um, and at least with Tekken, they do such an amazing job with their animation. You don't notice that, yeah, like from the older games to the newer ones, like yeah, like a jab is like 13 frames. Versus
Damn, that's crazy, dude.
versus Capcom where it's like 3, or a slow one
Three,
is
yeah.
5 for like the really heavy characters. Um, but yeah, but the animation's so crisp and smooth and Tekken that it looks great. You know, the game still feels snappy. The netcode's amazing.
Mm.
It's still very on point. So that's part of the feel of games being different. Because you go back and look at Marvel 3, that game is like everyone's zipping around the screen. It looks
Yeah,
super.
feels great.
Yeah. It looks like that game's at 2 times speed the whole time when I
Mhm.
look at it compared to how Infinite looked and how this new game looks. It's not as wild and crazy. I know people are like, oh my God, 4v4, it's going to be chaotic and madness. I'm like, nah, dude, when you're playing, when you have to make split-second decisions and you're moving very quickly, like there's a part in the trailer where, yeah, to make it look fast, you had characters do rolls as they were like tech rolling as they were getting up to make it look
Mhm.
like snappy. But when you saw Ghost Rider just naturally just get up, he's like glowing yellow, so he's invincible, and he's taking his sweet time, bro, getting up and like, all right, now I'm ready to fight again. So I could tell there's going to be maybe a little slower than the previous versus entries for Marvel games, but I do appreciate the fact that I know because Fighters I felt like was paying a lot of homage to Marvel 3 in a lot of
In
ways.
a way,
I
yeah.
feel like they were studying that game a lot in terms of because everyone's talking about like, oh, it's got the Fighters launcher. I'm like, dude, that launcher, they had that in Marvel 3 as well, where it was just like, you know, you do A, B, C, and then D, and you launch them into the air and you follow up right after, high in the air, and keep fighting them and knock them back down.
Mm.
So I felt like Fighters took that mechanic from Marvel. But what they did do is because, again, like I said, with Persona 4 and Arena and other games that they were making, they were playing with the auto combo system and they were thinking, okay, like, how do we expand upon that? And you did see flashy, very unique looking animations that didn't look like strings. And what I liked and got me hyped the moment I saw Tokon Fighting Souls was, oh, I feel that's a light punch. I feel like that's a medium. I feel like that's like a back heavy. I felt as if they're pressing string buttons and not
Auto
auto combo
combo.
strings.
Mm.
But I will say, in terms of the inspiration, I do think that for this game, I do think they're going to take inspiration from four different Arxis games that have come out. I do see the obvious one's Dragonball FigherZ because it's 3v3. Well, it's a team versus team. They're upgrading from 3v3 to 4v4. But I do agree with those who assess that the core of the game is definitely Guilty Gear Strive. And the game design director, he worked on XR and he worked on GranBlue. And GranBlue is another game I think they're referencing from. And the last game is BB Tag. Right away from the jump, they're like, okay, we got manual inputs, motion inputs, kind of like a classic play style, and we do have the easy input setup. Like we have two different control schemes. So I don't know if it's going to be at the character select screen, what style do you want to play? Or if they're going to go the GranBlue route, where at all times you can go either way. But with that, there's things where everyone's debating like how many buttons is this game going to have, Because a lot of games these days are making you use the whole controller. Back in the day, those were
Yeah, macro buttons. Yeah.
macros, so it's like to throw, to dash, to make it easier for you to do some of these more complex things. Here's like a shortcut. So I still like that idea of shorter buttons should be shortcuts. I don't think they should be like you have to be pressing all the buttons all the time. And what made me finally feel that way was playing 2XKO.
Never played that.
Played both betas, handles easy peasy. I've been given like lengthy essay responses when I give my thoughts on what they should do. And there was a lot of hype for that game. Like I said, Dragon Ball FigherZ was the last game that felt unified the community and got a bunch of new
Hmm.
people to play fighting games. And a lot of people thought 2XKO was going to be that because they're like, okay, we're going to find a way to simplify things, but still have complexity and make it so that everyone can play it. And this is a game you can play for years. That was their pitch. It's like from the cans, like the brothers who helped found Evo. They are all about hype moments and they're the ones who brought the event to Vegas and everything. So, and they're still a huge part of Evo as well. And that's when they made the first announcement of this game, Project L, at the time. And we were waiting years, but that those years came and went, bro. It was like 5 years. We're like, hey, when are you coming out? And they went from being like a Street Fighter style game, like the original, because these guys made Rising Thunder.
Hmm. Same dude, Tom.
Yeah, and when they were acquired by Riot, they're like, "Oh, we know what's going on. We know
Hmm.
what game they're making next." But the initial look of Project L and the playstyle was more Street Fighter. It was a simplified Street Fighter, almost like how Street Fighter would play like on a mobile game type of deal, where it's special and then directions to do different special moves. And they were doing moves will go on a cooldown. So even though it's just one button to throw a fireball, you had to wait to throw the next fireball. You couldn't just keep pressing the button and fill the screen.
Implementing like MOBA mechanics into it. It's interesting.
Exactly. So there are
Mm.
different games since then that try to do that, but they all fell off, because that system doesn't really work too well. But which is why I appreciate GranBlue finding a way to fuse both into one game to where it's still going strong. It's on its like third season. It's going to have a season four, maybe even a season five. And it's getting a lot of support. The roster's filling up quickly. It's one of those games that start out with like 12 characters, and people are like, 12 characters in this day and age? Like, that's so small. But now it's like definitely like close to probably 30 at this point.
Mm.
So it's definitely going well. I have mixed feelings with it. Like you said, you do feel a limitation, and they are trying to find controlled ways of expanding combos, but at the same time, it's like characters don't feel unique enough. They don't feel different enough. And what I got really excited when I saw the game was, okay, Cap, he's pressing a different number of buttons in between his strings than Spider-Man was. And then Ghost Rider looked like normal, special, normal, special. So I'm like, okay, these characters look like they're doing different stuff. It looks like you're gonna play them differently. And then when they did like the behind the scenes conversation, when they were saying that with these characters, you can be a tag fighter, you could play it that way, or you could just be like, I have three different characters to call assist from. It's up to you.
That's different.
You don't have to commit. to learning all four characters,
Mhm.
which would led a lot of people thinking that, okay, so maybe there's just one life bar shared amongst the team.
Mhm.
And people were saying like this is like a brand new concept, hasn't been done before. But dude, Guilty Gear just put out a beta for a tag team mode for Guilty Gear Strive.
It has that.
It's one life bar. It's really bad. I played it,
Um,
super chaotic. Um, there's no unique assists in that game because it's more like a party game. So it's like these wacky random things you could throw out, and you can call out your assists whenever you want. So you can have your assists stacking on top of each other. They talked about that mode at launch, saying that it's going to come out the year after, and it took like 3 years before that mode was finally put in out as a alpha beta test. You know? It still isn't coming out yet. But it was really wacky. But I was like, yo, but if they refined it and made that mode play more like an actual Marvel versus, you know, that it would have been good. It would have been fine. I would have been excited to play it, but I only played it once and I said never again. It was so
mhm, mhm.
and the delay was horrible. Like it was super
I'd
laggy
imagine, yeah.
with 6 people on. As good as the netcode is for Strive, having that many characters on screen, it just can't run. Um, But all right, so it takes me to how I think this game might play, G. I think there's gonna definitely be two styles. I think for the simple side, they're gonna make it play more like Dragon Ball. I think you are gonna get light auto combo string, which is ground combo, air combo, and you bring it back to the ground for a hard knockdown. I think you'll do medium, which is more hard hitting normals, mostly medium attacks. So they do try to stick to the buttons associated with that. Um, but I think it's going to be like medium attacks leading into a special, into level one super cancel. And then you have your heavy auto combo string, which is you do a bunch of like heavy, like a bunch of meaty moves, maybe into an EX move into your level three. So I do think they'll do that for the casuals to make it simple. So I think the face buttons are going to be A, B, C, and for special, I think they're going to use the tag button. And what I think is going to happen, I think they're going to use the tag button because you have so many characters. It's going to cycle for you. I think it's going to be whoever you have. That's why
Like
your
next
order,
on cue or something.
yeah. So I think your order is
Hmm.
going to matter a lot of how you position your characters when you select them. And I think what they're going to do, because I saw someone do this, like when they're explaining the game during like the developer diary, and I saw someone just call someone out. They did their assist, tag to them immediately, call someone else out, tag to them immediately. So I'm like, okay, cool. So you can tag through your whole roster in one combo. I'm like, cool. I was wondering if you could or not because there's so many characters, and I think you can. So it'll be interesting if you can loop back to your point at the end of the combo string. That would be interesting too.
I think a
Um,
lot of people would want that.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Uh-huh.
But I think what they're going to do is you press the tag button once, assist comes out. And while they're out, you can press it again to then tag to them. And then you can now then call out your second character, tag to them. So I think because it's like an active tag, where it's once your assist is called out, then you can tag to that partner. I think they're going to do it like that to make it simple. And hopefully they could do it Marvel 3 style, where if you press and hold the button, you call them in and you just tag to them. That would be
Mhm.
cool if they did that. So that's what I'm thinking is going to happen. But then it's like the manual controls, right? Like, okay, but you gotta have multiple buttons to call these assists. Like, how's that going to work? And I think a lot of us are on the same page. I think it's going to be, since you're going to have light, medium, and heavy, I think that's assist one, assist two, assist three. So with the tag button in conjunction with one of those other buttons, so light and tag, that's
It's
assist
first.
one,
Yeah.
medium tag assist two, heavy tag assist three. And if you want, you can make those as macros and the shoulder buttons. But if you're playing on stick, that's very easy to then just like press those. The one thing I'm kind of wondering about, right? So that's covering how it's going to be kind of Dragon Ball like. Um, and then I did see for the aerial rave, like during the developer diary, where you saw Cap do he's up in the air and he's doing light, medium, heavy, and then jump cancel light, medium, heavy. I'm like, oh, that's straight up from Dragon Ball, that kind of combo system. But at least it's nice to see like you can do long combos in the air too. Because in the trailer, it's everything's super short, right? Cap does 1-2 launcher, 1-2 ground bounce, 1-2, and then he calls his assist.
Here's a question. Did you notice if anyone, I mean, like maybe Storm or somebody, had the ability to fly and do combos? Did you notice any of that?
What Storm looks like that she has is it looks like they're giving her, and this is going to be where eventually we're going to talk about where they're going to be pulling from other characters that they've done before and apply them to the new characters. Because Storm was doing a lot of actual, she was actually hitting people, because in other games, she's like hitting you with wind or other things. She's not directly attacking you. And this one, she is punching you, she is kicking you. Looked like she was doing an air combo, and then it looked like she did a special move, like full screen, wind gust coming down that caused a ground bounce. So that when she landed on the ground, she was able to now continue to do a combo on the ground when she landed.
Mhm.
So I think she's gonna have full screen wind control like Rachel, where it's like full screen down, maybe even up and
Mhm.
side to side. They kind of did that a little bit in Marvel
Like
3.
foul wind and fair
hmm
wind.
But it wasn't
Yeah.
really necessary. That was just more screen control. But
Hmm.
it looks like they changed that to be more offense driven for this game, where she needs to do those kind of moves to extend her combos. So I could see
Okay.
her maybe doing like a
Mm.
wing gust move that maybe can pick you up and cause a wall bounce, and then she can keep comboing. So I think they're going to do stuff like that. Or maybe there's like a move that has like a slight ground bounce, and she can maybe do like an upwind, so they like full lift them up higher, so she actually connects with the combo. Um, so I think there's going to be a lot of stuff like that. With Storm, I don't know if she's going to have. I didn't see flight. I do think she's going to have a move where she's going to force herself to move forward in different directions,
Oh,
kind of
so
like
it was like a dashy kind of Psylocke thrust kind of situation.
yeah. Because when Psylocke does it, she's hitting you at the same time. So because you see her do that when she comes in, when she's tagged in. For an assist, it's an anti-air assist, and then she cancel it into super. So I think she's got moves like that move her forward, so she can continue with combos or continue to pick you up after you're hit by an assist. Um, yeah, dude. So I think that's everything Dragon Ball. I think the other game was BB Tag. I'll touch on just because BB Tag was more so the active tag system. The fact that that's the game where they brought it in to where you can call your assists and also still tag to them. It wasn't just you just tag to your partner. You can also call assists and then tag to them. And all the fighting games now are doing active tag. That's like the new hot thing that all the kids are doing. Um, but I like the fact that this is more controlled to where they kept the mechanic to where at any point when they're coming out, you can tag to them. So you can come tag to them when they're coming out. You can probably tag to them mid-move, and you can tag to
Hmm.
them after they're done with the assist move. Um, but it looks like because I think they're going to do it more to where you cycle through your characters. I think if you want to do Scrolls had the concept of custom assist, but you manually put that move in, and then you have that as your assist.
Right, I remember
And
that.
then games like BB Tag and then Power Rangers Battle for the Grid made this move of kind of adapted that. Infinite did it first with the active tag, actually, but it was super chaotic and messy because there's no rules. You swap back and forth as much
Mhm.
as you want. And with BB Tag and Power Rangers Battle for the Grid, they're like, no, we need to put limitations.
Mhm.
You can only have a set window and then it's going to recharge and then you can start doing that again. And with those games, it's like, okay, you can kind of create a custom assist where you can, you know, call assist, quickly switch to them, do something different, and then they could switch again. And then now you have an opportunity to do like a cross up, mix up, or do another move. But BB Tag, you were kind of able to go from point to assist and then back to your point. So you can like, be your main, call your partner in, do a custom assist, and then go back to your point. But I think with this game, they're going to want to probably encourage you to now you did one, you called in the second to do a mix up, now switch to your third. But I think what's going to be, if they allow you the freedom with the manual input, that allows you the added layer of complexity at doing the manual controls of being able to switch back to your point. I think you're not going to be able to easily do that under the easy controls. So I think I'm more hopeful that they're going to be smarter about like you need to put in the time and the effort to do the cooler, more of like, but I want to really have more control over what I'm doing. I think the manual controls will allow for that. Oh yeah, the one last thing from BB Tag I wanted to say they added was when they show that move where they're like bouncing around between all four characters. They have a move like that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's so Japanese
Yeah,
vibes. Yeah, for
yeah,
sure.
yeah. They had a move like that in BB Tag where you just press it and it's like a level one super basically.
Mhm.
And it does a good amount of damage. It doesn't scale too much. So I was doing it a lot in the game where I would end my combos with that move because it did like nice damage overall. And it's pretty flashy. You get to see all four characters. The one thing I hope is that maybe it's a little bit quick timey where before where you could kind of control which character comes next. So it's not just that on a rotation from your first, second, third back to your point. Hopefully you can kind of manually change who comes in so that at the end of that combo, you can then have a different character now at point at the end of that. That would be cool. Um, so maybe just to simplify it, maybe you just hold which assist button you want while it's happening, and then it automatically just swaps them for you. So just at the end, they just change who shows up. That would be cool. Um, One thing that they did from BB Tag, mechanic wise, that I was shocked to see in this game is having multiple assist moves per character. BB Tag was set up to where you had three assist moves for your partner. You had neutral assist, which worked like a combo extension.
Oh, look, they're interesting. That's different.
You had an anti-air assist. That's why when I saw Storm do that move where she anti-aired and then supered, I'm like, oh, is that all she has? Because when I saw 4v4, I could have sworn that it was just going to be one assist per character. It would be like at most Marvel style where you choose a different assist, which they eventually patched that feature into Dragonball FigherZ. But at launch, you only had one. And I thought that was fair and enough to keep track of. But then when I saw studying the trailer, I saw Doom do three different assist moves. You know, he does that one almost like Rekka, where he kind of does the punch, and then he does the EX move where then it turns into like, or like a heavier version where it turns into a grab and then slash.
Mhm.
And then he does his anti-air beam attack. And then he did his like new version of hidden missiles with the laser. So yeah, like neutral assist, the combo extension, forward assist, which is the anti-air, and then back assist is special. It's like a special move. So I think for Doom, his special assist move is the hidden missiles. And I think other characters will have a very unique move. So that was the first thing got me super excited. But then you saw the wall break, and that made everyone's pit sink because like, oh no, Strive. Everyone hits the
Yeah,
wall break
right.
because you lose the corner. Um,
Mhm.
and everyone's hoping that for this game, they switch it up to where it's a specific move that can break the wall. Because in Strive, what we all wanted and they never did was it looked like it seemed like the wall had a health bar in a
Mhm.
sense. Like it dealt certain level of damage, then it breaks. So we were all kept kind of telling Arxis like, yo, show us what that looks like. Because we know like if you stop hitting against the wall, it's like it almost felt like the life bar went back to zero and then you can build it up again until you
Mhm.
want to break it. So that's something that we kind of kept asking for them to do, and they never did it. Like, dude, just show us what we know it's happening. We can feel it. Just show us the life bar so we know how far we can push it to keep him in the corner. But a lot of people are hoping that there's specific moves this time, like when you do your heavies or a hard hitting move, or we know for sure supers because in the trailer they show that anytime like Ghost Rider does a super, different characters were doing supers, and it happened. And when Miss Marvel does her punch, which showed the initial wall break, we could tell that was a heavy punch. So we're like, okay, we know heavies and supers break the wall. Can lights and medium attacks break the wall? So you can then create meta and mix up by intentionally not going for your most heavy attacks at the corner. But they should also add a set incentive. Like Strive, you got a 25% meter increase by using the wall break. Um, and then it wasn't good enough, so then they bumped it to like 50. So you get a ton of meter. But with this game, when they do the wall break, cars are exploding. They're getting hit by stuff. So I'm hoping at the same time there's also a damage boost. Like, sure,
Mhm.
you may not be able to get KO'd through a wall break, but at least make it worth it. Not just with meter, but maybe added bonus damage for doing a wall break. That would be cool too. But yeah, there's a lot of Strive DNA. They did it with like the counter system. Like they showed a move where I think it was Doom or Star-Lord was going for a sweep, and then Spider-Man jumps and then does like a dunk on the guy, and you see like the camera move. So I'm like, okay, so they're definitely with presentation, they're looking at Strive a lot. Um, and but the cool thing is, it's a battle director from, oh, it's a game design director from XR. So I feel like this game is going to look at what Strive did, had a lot of complaints. It was very controlled. Like, dude, like to do combos was really weird. You can only punch into punch, unless it was a command nurble into special. Cake was the same thing. And
Right.
for some reason, he thought like if there were strict rules on how combos worked, that would be easier for casuals to do because there was like a structure to what the combo flow would be. But then he opened it up, but he's like, oh, but you could do slash into heavy slash. And that's the only Magic series they had in the game, which kind of sucked. And yeah, dude, it was not a good time. Did
Yeah, right.
they opened it up by saying if you do a counter hit, then you could combo with whatever you want after. But I'm like,
Why just then? Like,
yeah,
I don't know, man.
it felt like 'cause you could
Yeah,
tell it was programmed in those limitations. Like, dude,
exactly.
just take those rules out, and everyone will be more happy with the game. I feel like they had to do some funky stuff to probably make those rules to where you can't just remove them easily. So I feel like this is a great Strive 2.0 where I think they learned a lot from what people didn't like about Strive. Some of that stuff's still in there, but hopefully there's more consideration of, okay, like you said, the options of how do I
Yeah.
keep the corner, the
Hmm.
options of combo flow and structure. And the big thing I appreciate from like the PlayStation blog post to the developer diary, they love Marvel. You can
Hmm.
tell that these guys are fans of the franchise and they know that yes, Dragon Ball FighterZ worked for the time, but they can't deviate too much. They can bring in some of the modern stuff, for the kids. I think Street Fighter 6 did it the best out of all these new fighting games of
Mm.
having a play style that it's simplified, but you can still use that at a pro level and it's okay.
Mhm.
But you got the pros play the traditional way, still play at a high level, and they're excelling and succeeding. And you don't feel like one's being handicapped for the other. They can both play at the highest level and still
Like
do cool stuff.
even playing ground. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And yeah, it's just like how there was a transition from pad to, from stick players to pad players, like where
Hmm.
all the new kids only play pad, you know, but you don't feel like because some of the old controllers are super complicated, like SNK with their pretzel inputs and even Guilty Gear with its half circle then forward inputs. Like some of that stuff's hard to do, but people are still able to pull it off. And the last game that they kind of reference is GranBlue. And this is where it might be a little bit spicy, G. The defensive mechanics. How does that stuff work? Because in GranBlue, you had a block button. But the reason GranBlue had a block button is because you're getting kids who are playing MOBAs and RPGs to play a fighting game. So, okay, we're going to give you a block button so you don't have to worry about mix-ups.
Mm.
Um,
Well, I mean that's NK also. So,
yeah,
right.
100%. Yeah. But I like how they use the block button to feel more like Smash because, you hold down block to just block. You still have to crouch block, right? But then if you do down block, I think it's down block, spot dodge, right?
Right.
So you get to dodge in place, and it's great because it's fast recovery, and so you could just dodge and immediately punish your opponent. And then you also have like an evade function. So you press forward block, you go, you evade forward, you dash forward with the vulnerability. And that was great if you had someone spamming fireballs at you. You just time it, go through the fireball, you're right up in their face, and they can start a combo. So it's really cool to see that in this game, characters had it. They had Miss Marvel do it. They had Doom do it too, where everyone thought Doom just has an invisible teleport when he does his like comes in, does like a evade forward, and then does his level one super instantly. Everyone thought like, what, Doom has invisible teleport? Or like a Bison dash, but he did an evade. And it's cool that when he does evade, he goes invisible. So that's going to be a nice mix up when things get crazy with assists. And then, of course, we saw Spider-Man do it too, where Spider-Man did actually a spot dodge because he did like Spider Sense EX, a regular Spider Sense that looked like one that voids a high. And that's the good thing with Spider-Man. I think he's going to have a high anti-air dodge and probably like a low dodge. And then the EX would just dodge everything. So it's not like super broken. You know, it's not like an auto parry. You got to actually know what your opponent's going to do. So it's going to have the defensive mechanics like that, but I don't know if that's going to be what input that is to do those defensive moves. I don't know if you're going to have a block button or not. That's going to be very debatable amongst the community. Because when they showed the mix up on Ghost Rider, he was crouching when he got dunked on the head. So I'm like, that doesn't give me confirmation if there's gonna be a block button or not. Because if it was a crazy mix up and he was standing and blocking it, I would be definitely confirming like I think it's there. But he was crouching. So, crouch blocking, of course, you're gonna get beat out by overhead. Um, and yeah, dude. I love the constant tagging that's in the game with like even like their alpha counter system where it was
Mm.
like crossover, and then you had what was it, Spider-Man come in to save Iron Man, and then they were able to like play off of each other. That was really cool. So I definitely think there's going to be a lot of team mechanics, a lot of back and forth with the characters, and I like the fact that Arx is looking at all of their games for inspiration of what to put into this one. And I'm hoping that one of those games that they're like you and I are saying, heavily referring to and referencing is the classic Marvel fighting games because, these guys want to play that game. And well, a lot of those guys want to come back and play this game. And a lot of fighting game players feel like the casual market is being catered to a little too much with the auto combo systems and stuff. And plus with GranBlue, finally they're adding skins to characters. Because that's something with the art style for Guilty Gear they couldn't do because they were really tweaking and distorting the models during any animation. So they're like skins, like dude, that's like working on another character.
Mm.
It'd be way too much work. But GranBlue, they have skins and a battle pass because that's popular with the kids these days too. Have battle passes, pay a little extra money to earn new colors, new skins, and to customize like their nameplate for online and stuff. So yeah, man. I know that was a whole lot. That was me just dunking, unpacking everything Arxis, everything game design, but I've been hyper analyzing
Uh,
the trailer. I've been looking at what other people have been saying, and I'm excited. I'm excited because I feel like this is a chance to say we've grown and learned, and we don't want you guys because there was a lot of hype for Arxis games, and then with all the auto combos, simple controls, people started to kind of be a little like we don't know anymore. We feel like they're just going after the big IP and just pushing out a game, and the quality isn't up to people's standards. Even though the presentation's amazing, I think each new game, the associated art style keeps looking better. And I think with Strive now, I think there's been a transition to like, okay, how do we make a game that exists more in the 3D space? And with GranBlue, it's like, how do we make something that we can make a little bit more marketable because people are going to want all the skins for this game, dude. Like people are going to want like different Iron Man suits. People are going to want Hydra, Captain America. People are going to want the classic Johnny Blaze Ghost Rider as an alternate skin for Robbie Reyes Ghost Rider. People are going to want a lot of that stuff. So I'm hoping they can go like Marvel 3 style, where the different colors are already kind of different skins. They just change the textures a little bit and maybe like the cap shield kept changing shape. If they can do that again, I'll be super hyped because as I was looking at the animation, they weren't doing crazy smearing on the actual character model. It was like Cap Shields would have the smear, but his arm wasn't smearing. So I was looking at stuff like that. I'm like, I think they're going to have a lot of skins because they're not messing with the actual character models too much. They're just being smarter about the design, but still has a great art. I think a lot of people will argue this is now like the best looking Arxis game because it has like beautiful watercolor backgrounds that help you contrast with the characters in the foreground. Like everything reads well. Enough about that, man. We got nothing about the technical stuff. Now here comes the fun, bro. Like Marvel's back, man. What do we want to see for this game, bro? What are your hopes for this Marvel game?
right off the bat, I want to see Blackheart. I want to see Shua.
Mm,
Um, I want to see. Oh, I mean, I'm, I always play the big bad people, so I do want to see Onslaught, like a legit playable character. That'd be really cool. And Gambit, I do want to see my boy Gambit. I haven't used him in so long, and And yeah, he's always been a really cool design. One thing that I actually really am anticipating to see is it's the first Marvel game outside of Capcom development. And
Mm,
Capcom has been in the in kind of between a rock and a hard place. In one end, they want to be faithful to their original character designs and fighter designs, says to not alienate like the long time people playing the series of the whole entire game.
mm,
And on the other end, they can't just rehash the same dude over and over again. They have to add something new. They have to make the character feel fresh and try certain things. So we ended up with characters that were faithful, played faithful to earlier iterations, but
mm,
not, so they were kind of hamstrung in a sense where they couldn't really switch them up too much.
yeah.
Now that we have to- Token Soul, I don't know what the technical word is for this new game,
Mm,
but this new Marvel game, Pandora's box opened up. You see
mm,
Doom playing completely different than any other iteration. Same with Storm. So that, in a sense, to me is very exciting
mm,
to see, a company, have their own interpretation of these characters.
yeah.
Um, right? So that being on the top of my ultimate wish list, I do want to see how they'd execute somebody like Blackheart with like a lot of minion dudes coming out. I do
Hmm.
want to see how they would execute someone like Shumagara, right? Like
Yeah.
insane footsies, tentacle combos, and things like that. Are they going to keep him a charge character or not? You know,
Mm,
um, things like that. Uh, there's so many things they could do with someone like Gambit, who has the ability to charge whatever he touches. You know what I'm saying? So,
hmm.
oh man, so excited. How about you, Mike? What kind of characters do you feel would be an amazing addition to the roster?
Yeah, when it comes to the roster, man, it's something that like I'm bouncing off the walls, right? My mind
Uh,
goes to like what Maximilian did was like, well, what I think the game would roster would actually look like. And I feel like that's boring, you know? It's like, okay, Thor, Hulk. I think what they're going to do is they're going to set up the game to eventually fill teams. So I think day one, you could have an Avengers team. You can also have a full X-Men team. I think eventually you can have a full Spider-Man team. I don't know if it's going to just be Spider-Man
just like
characters
Spider Gwen,
or if it's
Spider
going to be
Man.
like Spider People, you know?
Very interesting.
Because I definitely want to see one day like a full Sinister Six team. I want to see a full team of like villains that they did for Marvel, called them the Cabal. Or it's like Loki, Emma Frost, Namor, and Doom. We're all part of that. So I think that should be a future team eventually. Seeing like Miss Marvel, she's an Inhuman, right? But recently they like, killed her off and brought her back as an X-Men, as a mutant. And even in the movie, they're kind of teasing like she's got the mutant gene. You're like, is that some like retroactive changing stuff they're trying to do? Because like Feige said, like before the whole X-Men fiasco where Fox was running it, they did want Miss Marvel to initially be a mutant at the jump. But they changed her to be an Inhuman because that was the initiative at Marvel at the time. Was like we kind of want to downplay X-Men because we don't really own film rights to that. So let's push Inhumans and try to make that a thing. Never became a thing.
Mhm, mhm.
Just look at the show, bro. They didn't even finish a full season. But speaking of Inhumans, I do think you're going to see a future character like if Miss Marvel isn't Inhuman, I do think you're going to see a character like Medusa, who is like the queen of the Inhumans, show up
Okay.
because she fights with her hair, and then like that's right up Arx's alley, you know?
Miller Age,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Yeah,
Amelia Rage, bro. So I see like
yeah,
she would
yeah.
be like in
Yeah.
the
That's funny.
in the middle because she actually
Uh-huh.
does wear purple. So I feel like she would kind of have more like a Sindel vibe from MK1 where she's kind of very regal, kind of pompous, full of herself, but she'll be fighting with her hair like Amelia Rage. So just because of her personality and stuff, I see her being like a nice, fresh take on that concept of fighting with her hair. And just to go down the list of characters, I think are from the Guilty Gear that they could just reskin and redesign, but have at least like a game plan is
Mhm.
Potemkin, right? Take his
Okay.
move set, give us the Juggernaut, you know,
That'd be cool.
that would be
That'd be
sick.
cool.
You know, that's like a deep cut going back to the previous where he hasn't been around in a while. And I love like an old glitch exploit that he had in Marvel 2 that people demanded, like put that back in the game.
What the power up thing? Yeah,
Yeah,
dude, that's so hilarious.
yeah, dude. they had to patch it and give it people what they wanted. So I think Juggernaut being back, I think I would love to see Iceman come back. Um, I'm just worried that right now there's been a huge push for Luna Snow. K-pop star, because K-pop's all the rage with the kids, you know.
Mm.
So K-pop superhero with ice powers, and there's like a poster referencing her in the background of the stage that they premiered. So I'm like, ah, man,
So bets are on her instead of Iceman. Gotcha.
yeah. But Iceman, super dope. I think he'll be an amazing DLC character anyway. So
Mm.
I think he'll definitely come. I love how many people want Nightcrawler to finally show up in this game. Super
Uh-huh.
sick. Especially after X-Men 97, bro. I don't know. Did you watch it?
Yeah, I loved it, man.
So sick. Because he always fought with just two swords. But X-Men 97 is like, no, 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 no. He's got a tail, bro. His tail needs a weapon too. Um, so it'd be so sick if they actually bring him into the game, fighting with three swords, doing crazy like teleporty, even like capoeira type moves because he can fight with different ways, and even his hands have like little, the feet have like little hands on them, kind of too and stuff.
Right. Yeah.
So the kind of moveset he can have is just crazy, and Arxes would just eat that up. I definitely want someone like Rogue to be base roster. Rogue was one of my mains in Marvel too, but also I want her to have still like the Miss Marvel powers where she
Mm.
flies around and still has strength, which is why I kind of don't want Captain Marvel to be
To be in
launched.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
mean, she
yeah.
could be eventually because she does like she goes binary and fires lasers and stuff. Rogue doesn't do that. And but I want Rogue to start because I want Mystique as DLC.
Mm.
You know what I'm
Okay.
saying?
Interesting.
So you can
Interesting.
start off with
Is she
just
gonna be like
like
Shang Tsu pretty much?
exactly. But not only
Uh-huh.
that, but I thought about it like that would be cool. Like if she could just transform parts of her limbs. And then I saw somebody like post up, pages from a comic where she does transform parts of her body. She doesn't have to go full transformation. So I'm like, that would be sick if all of her normals were her arms and legs or for punches and kicks transformed and were referencing characters in the game, potential DLC they're working on and just random that character will never show up, but we're going to make this a reference anyway type of deal.
You're
So
definitely giving me Super Scroll vibes. Super
yeah,
Scroll kind of worked like that. Yeah.
hmm yeah,
Uh,
but she also gets to do like the full transformation for like a level one super, just transform into your opponent or any assist
mhm.
maybe. So it'd be cool like if they did it to where like it's kind of like because some games do it to where it's like two buttons. So for super input, some games do like double motion and button. So that would be cool if you could do that with Mystique, because then they could definitely control which character she transforms into from the other team. Yeah, dude, I agree with a lot of people. I want the Goblin. I want
Green
Doc
Goblin.
Ock. I want to eventually see like a Sinister Six type of team. So like even if they threw a character like Mysterio would be fire. I kind of want someone like Lizard or Scorpion to be in the game too. I think that would be really cool.
Yeah, yeah. I just don't know like how their move set would be. What I know about that lizard guy is from what, like Amazing Spider-Man? Was that, did I get that right?
Oh, the
Yeah.
one in the 90s? Or no, oh
No,
no,
no. Yeah, yeah, the Andrew Garfield
the
one.
movie, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
That was Amazing Spider-Man 2, yeah.
Yeah, that's all I know about that lizard dude.
Oh no,
Um
Amazing Spider-Man 1. That's right.
yeah, the
2,
first one.
2 we don't talk about.
Two with Jamie Foxx.
I
He
look
did all right. He did all right in the new movie though, right?
yeah, yeah. He was like redemption.
So yeah, man. Oh damn. Yeah, I think we hit on literally everyone that I kind of want to see in this game. Oh.
Mm. There's a few crazy ones. Like
Uh,
I want to see yeah, they'll definitely do a team of Avengers villains. And yeah, they'll do a team of X-Men villains because there's so many good ones. I definitely want to see I want to see Sinister.
Sinister. Sinister would be cool.
I think it
They
was
need a
like
Sentinel in there, don't they? I mean,
yeah.
I'd be surprised if they don't.
Oh, okay. So just to wrap up, Sinister. Like I think he'll be dope because he would have different power-ups. I just see him constantly injecting himself with different stuff or different power-ups.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Okay. So he's like an
yeah.
install super
hmm
maniac. Yeah, yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, I saw someone like drop that like last year when Tokon Marvel was first coming back, and they're like, that would be cool if you could do stuff like that. So I'm like, oh, that would be pretty sick. Um, but to go into like the Sentinel conversation, right? I think they should go Bastion.
Oh,
Yeah. I think they should go Bastion because one of Sentinel's moves was calling other Sentinels.
uh-huh, uh-huh.
So I think that would be sick. And plus, like, I love the fact he did his like transformation. I don't know how you would reference him doing that transformation in the game,
Uh,
but I don't know that that'll be like an install super where he's even like more powerful and doing all this crazy stuff. And he might have some slight healing capability. I just think like Bastion was just too badass in that show to not like put him into this game. I'm like almost thinking summon my Legion team at one point where you have Doom because his level 3 summers his Doom bots, and then you also have Ultron summoning his army, and then you have
that's funny.
Bastion summoning his army of
That's
Sentinels to
funny.
attack you. So that'll be crazy because we don't know if there's DHCs in this game. That's something we really
Mm,
don't know. I think, unfortunately, I think that move where they go through all four characters might replace the Team Super. We don't know.
maybe, maybe.
It's so early. I know they didn't show everything, but it would be cool if you could just do like a wave of armies just being thrown at your opponent. That would be so sick. Speaking of having your own army, personal army, you gotta put in Apocalypse, dude.
Mm. Yeah, like a playable version, not the one that is like overblown and like chilling in the background.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
I think it'd be so badass if he had. Because even though I really want Archangel to be a character, because I think it'd be so sick to have him like zip around, slash you with his wings, and like throw darts full screen and
Right,
stuff.
right.
I think it'd be so badass. But if I gotta like limit, say at least he can be an assist of sorts for Apocalypse leading his four horsemen, I think that would be really badass to see
Um,
Apocalypse utilized in that way. You know, as we might mention a few times, as a type of Captain Ginyu type from Dragonball FigherZ. But I like to shout out personally the original captain who summoned his team, Captain Commando.
oh yeah, that's so true.
Because when he did it, it was fired because his team is so crazy. He got a baby in a mech, and then he
Uh-huh.
got like a mummy ninja dude. Like all of his characters were so wacky and crazy that like I want to see like that type of like who is this? Like what's going on? Because another summon character I think that would really be dope. Just to bring him in to again bringing characters who wouldn't be playable because they're like D, C list, but would be a deep cut and fun for fans to see reference if you had a character like Kingpin come in
Oh, interesting.
doing charge attacks, being a big body,
Mm.
but all of his specials is him summoning different assassins to do attacks on you. I think that would be pretty cool. I thought one of them could probably be Bullseye, but then I really thought about it. I'm like, yo, Bullseye would be a crazy character
I
if
mean,
he was
he'd be kind
playable.
of Hawkeye-esque. He'd probably have a move where it's like Gimlet. It's like full screen, just instant like hit. You know what I'm saying? Like a hit
Mhm.
scan kind of move.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
what
that'd be
his
cool.
level 3 super will do so much damage.
Uh,
Because what I think he would do would be crazy is I think all of his projectile moves would be homing, but they all home differently. I think it
hmm.
would be crazy if he did like light, medium, heavy. Is he throws something that bounces off the edges of the screen, and depending on the strength of the attack is how many times it bounces off the screen.
Hmm.
So if he did EX, it will bounce off all four corners and then hit them. Or he would have like a
Interesting.
move where he would like throw something off screen and then he rushes in and then it comes from the other side to hit you. Like a lot
Hmm.
of tricky projectile at different rates so that he just then goes in and mixes you up. And then it'll be and it's just a play, have fun with it and reference the show. They're all random different things.
Yeah, it's wild. It's a lot they could do with that character.
Yeah. I'm trying to think any last honorable mentions that we haven't talked about. I do think you should be able to rep the classic X-Men team. So have Beast that plays like Blanca,
I don't think Beast has ever been in one of these, right? That would be a first.
not in the 2D space. He was in
Yeah.
those 3D Mutant Academy, which I know we never
Oh
touched.
man.
But and from those, that's why I think Mystique would have a projectile too, because they gave a railgun.
Mhm.
But speaking of X-Men who carry big guns, G. You got to bring back the boy.
Yeah, I agree. Well, there are two boys in that front. There's Cable and Bishop. Which one you talking about?
I personally want to see both, but I think they would have to be different seasons of DLC.
uh,
I don't think either one would be base. I think it should be Cable and then Bishop.
yeah, or something like that. They should definitely do Bishop though, because he hasn't made it yet. Yeah.
Yeah, just to have a super where he just like is it absorbing all of your attacks
Yeah.
and he's just goading you to hit him because you know if you do like a full like combo string on him, you could just do all that damage right back at you. So you just don't want to touch the guy. But if you can have cool assists that open you up while you're blocking, that would be nuts. I do think it should be Rocket and Groot as one, but I want Groot to be the main, and I want Rocket to be part of either normal strings or he's planning traps and stuff as special attacks. I think that would be
Yeah,
really
I
cool,
think I think I'm kind of done with like really really tiny people
right?
in my fighting games. I'm so annoyed of them.
Yeah, dude.
No serve bots, no like. I mean, Rocket was like a little bit bigger, but like, man, he was so annoying to play against. So
Yeah,
yeah.
because everyone's used to Rocket being on Groot's shoulder, especially with rivals, you know.
uh,
Oh yeah, speaking of, I think that's what they're gonna do. I think they're gonna have definitely characters that were made popular by rivals be I think they're gonna be DLC. I think
like Jeff the Shark, like random,
yeah,
random stiz like that. Yeah.
I call him El Jefe, bro, because Jeff comes in, you don't mess with him. He tears everybody up for some reason. He just shoots and runs away, and you just can't take that guy out. So many MVP screens with Jeff. I'm just like
Yeah.
crazy. But even though I would love her to be base, I think Scarlet Witch might be DLC.
Okay.
Um, because I still think Strange should be main.
Yeah. Yeah. Strange would
But
be really cool.
to your point, I'm super excited because I feel Strange has been really safe. Unfortunately, from on Capcom's side, he just does like beams and glyphs. I want to see him open up rifts to like different dimensions. I want to see him do like crazy time manipulation. Like it'll be messed up, but Geras does it in Mortal Kombat where he just completely rewinds. He's like, that whole combo you just did on me didn't count.
That's crazy.
So he like actually like rewinds everything he just did and goes back to where he was, having recovered all that life. So I think it'll be dope if they did that. Be cheap, be annoying to see him use Time Stone as part of his like move set, but I think Strange is a great opportunity to make him look way cooler. Like also use like his magic whip and so many things, you know. I think the movies did a good job of finding new spells for him to do, and I
Mhm.
think the game needs to do stuff like that. Like make him cast spells and do stuff. Don't just be like I'm summoning bolts of light to hit you. I'm like that's weak, you know. When they do them, someone made a good talk about like Black Widow being like a fusion of Cammy and Sea Viper, and like that would be way better than what Capcom did. I don't know why they didn't think of that for their own character. She had like a poison stun instead. I'm like, poison? Like in all the movies, she's stunning with electricity. Where does poison come from, you know? Oh, but that's more comic accurate. I'm like, that's weird. I think you're definitely going to have heavy weapon artillery team like Winter Soldier and um,
It's like War Machine.
I think it's going to be a team. I think it's going to be War Machine, Winter Soldier, and Punisher all lined up. So I think that's going to be cool. Just like you're going to have like a team big body. I think you should have Hulk along with Juggernaut and the Thing, and
That'd be
maybe
crazy.
they even bring Colossus back or something. Uh,
Colossus, I think, it definitely needs to come back for sure.
yeah,
So
dude.
yeah.
So I don't know, man. I know a lot of people did like dream rosters. I'm like, nah, there's just too many characters.
Mhm.
I think there's too many to fit in. I think Venom should be day one, but I know people still have been fiending for Carnage to show up one day. I think he'll be a great. I know Venom will be day one just because Zato.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good point.
He's there every time. I'm like, how can you not? You know, they find
Mhm.
a way to make him launch every time, you know? So they could definitely do Venom. He's just a buffer, you know, Eddie Zato one.
I
Um,
see
but
it.
but I think Carnage, I think because he's so like extreme and kind of like violent
Mhm.
that they've always been scared to, you know? But with characters like biking, taking it to
Yeah.
people,
Yeah.
I could definitely see them like you just black out the screen and he does things. It's fine. But yeah, dude, there's a lot of cool stuff, man. I'm really excited for the game. I think there's going to be like one or two reps for every team they're gonna fill out. I think you're going to have like Midnight Suns, right? Because Doctor Strange has been part of Midnight Suns. So you got Doctor Strange, Ghost Rider, and then eventually fill out that team with like Moon Knight and Blade. Um, so I think they're going to go through and eventually like you can recreate your dream teams from the comics. Like Daredevil will have his own version of the Defenders show up probably. I do think a lot of the stage stuff are hints at DLC though. Like Dazzler, maybe that's like a redirect and we do get Jubilee and Dazzler could just be like a skin. You know?
Yeah, right. They could always do that.
You also see like Matt Murdock in the window of one of the parts of the stages. So I think they're showing you Matt because as DLC, when Daredevil shows up, he won't be in the background. There'll be Daredevil front and center. So I think they're playing it smart. They're like hinting at a lot of content, at a lot of characters, and hopefully we get a big roster at launch, man. Um, I know a lot of people say Arxis starts small, but I don't know. They keep bragging they have a big budget. I think they're trying to flex, like, yo, we're going to get.
Dude, you could tell. You could tell they have an enormous budget for this game. So,
So I'm
yeah.
hoping we're looking at like close to or at 30, hopefully. My dream's 32. I know a lot of people are trying to be more realistic. Like it might be like fighters again at 24. I'm like, maybe we could do 28. Let's be in the middle. But nah, dude. Yeah. So
When's it scheduled to come out? They didn't hint on any release date. They want to take their sweet time
well, next year. It is
next year.
dropping next year. So
Damn.
I think it's such a bold move. Again, like the way Infinite was shown off and left people feeling like a year, like, we don't know. All of us were hoping it was going to get pushed back and delayed just to fix the art style or to finish it or whatever was happening there. But I think even the design, like I think like the really buff, crazy look of the characters worked when they did the heavy black cell shading. But when you saw how those models look in like full on light, because people kept saying like Chris Redfield looks so much better in Marvel 3 than he does in Infinite. I'm like, bro, the model's almost the same. The model's actually better in Infinite. He's actually modeled better, but because half of his face was in black,
Hmm. Hmm.
you couldn't see what was really going on. And then Dante, so many characters looked really bad because those models don't work for that type of art direction. Everything about it just didn't work. So, I think the dream is still alive. I do think it's gonna come, but I'm just hoping that they just take a step back, slow down development, look at what this game is doing right, and also take a notice of what's not quite working. Because all of us think that Marvel versus Capcom 4 should have four characters just to go with the name and just to take it up another level. Like what else could you do, But I think there was a lot of things in 3 that didn't really work. Like when he kept tagging and launching the person further up and further up, that didn't really work. Um, so I do think there's a lot of lessons learned, and we're far enough removed, and people would have played this game. So if there's new ideas, like, oh, maybe we should give Spider-Man a Spider Sense move in the next Capcom game. I think there's a lot of things that they could learn and see what works and what doesn't, and again, deliver on things that maybe this game doesn't. I think the dream is still alive, G. I think some of us seeing this kind of find like Capcom All-Stars game, like Capcom just go nuts and make a game just celebrating your characters. But um, I don't know if we're ever going to get that game. I think Capcom, as this amazing IP as they have, I think they're still like haunted by that era. And I think them making their own Marvel 4 is a way to go back to form and make up for Infinite. And hopefully, because maybe if people are right, maybe this will be a more balanced representation roster of Marvel for Marvel Tokon Fighters. So maybe we won't get a ton of X-Men like we want to, and maybe it'll be like evened out. Um, but then that means it'll Capcom. It's on you guys. Bring back every single even Silver Samurai, even well, I don't want Spiral, but I want Mystique instead of Spiral. But go nuts, and it's exciting, bro. I'm hype. You know, I can't wait for this game to come out. I'm glad that the dream is back again, and hopefully, as we said, this does pan out and is a game that everyone likes, that everyone celebrates, because it seems like everyone wants to play it. So hopefully, they can deliver on a game that is cool with casuals. It's designed so that they can come in and learn, but there's enough meat so that we can. This will be our new Marvel 3, where we can say like, "Yo, this is a game that you're gonna go be playing with buddies
Yeah,
a
that's my
decade
hope.
after." Yeah.
That's my hope. We'll see. That's a very lofty goal for a game to have. But yeah, let's see what happens. I'm open. This is like the first Arc System game that I'm like, damn, this might be the one where I like put in a ton of time.
hmm
So hopefully they deliver.
All right, thanks everybody for tuning in, checking out G and I, having a conversation about games and our favorite game, genre games, versus games, and talking about the new hype we have for Marvel.
Yeah.
Um, Definitely be on the lookout for that. And yeah, might have some updates on that, and might have some other homies dropping by to give their insights on different things that we love and enjoy. So, with that, bid you guys adieu. Deuces. Till next time, take care and have a good one. All right, thanks.
正義のためにこれが私の